sent an email to the 3 ladies who collaborated on it with me, and I was expecting them to, well, I didn't know what I was expecting. I had no expectations, but they all emailed back very quickly and they said, yeah, count me in. I don't know what we're going to be doing, but it sounds like a great project, let's do it. So there we were.
And at first I was like, oh, how's that going to work? I don't know about that. And then I thought, well, why not? Let's give it a go and let's just see what happens. And it was brilliant. I had the best time, the time of my life writing with these girls. They're terrific authors and wonderful friends, and we really had a great time doing it. So I'm so pleased she asked me to be involved.
Actually, it was Paula's idea, Paula Vince, and she emailed us. Apparently she'd been looking on a website. I guess she'll tell you about it herself, but she said, who'd like to join in this idea together, and let's see if we can do it all together. And I thought, oh, I wonder if it could be done. I didn't know whether it could be done or not, so we had a go at it, and it can be done, and I think it's worked out really well.
Well, like the others, I was contacted by Paula, and I'd actually seen some collaborative novels on the market which were 4 novellas in one book, and so I kind of thought that's what she meant. We were going to write 4 separate stories to put them in one book. But after we talked about it, we ended up doing one story just with the 4 authors. So yeah, it was different than I expected, but it was really good.
Oh, I'm glad it's the 21st century. I don't think we would have possibly been able to do it at any earlier stage.
So we emailed and we started off with a big Skype session, and we brainstormed ideas, and we did all of those things in the Skype session, and from there we had decided to do more Skyping but didn't end up using the Skype again. We just emailed each other.
And of course Rose lives in North Queensland and Paula and I are in Adelaide, and we've got Amanda in Melbourne, and we just set up this Skype session, and Paula sort of threw a basic idea out there, and then all of our heads got onto it, and we were like, you know, a feeding frenzy, and the whole thing blew out, and we had this great long storyline after probably about an hour on Skype. And then Paula wrote up a full outline of what we'd said. We allocated, or we all volunteered for parts of who was going to write which character. We're all writing the same story, and one of us started and pitched it out onto the email to everybody else, and the next one in the line that followed the story took the next part of the story and told the next part of the story from a different perspective.
Every day a new chapter would turn up in each of our emails, and it was such a fantastic feeling to see a story growing, which I didn't have to put all the work into myself.
So sometimes I come home from a working day at the office and find 30 emails or something. They've all been discussing back and forth all day. I have to sit there and read through everything before I can respond. But it was I really enjoyed that experience. Yeah.
I thought it was really exciting because I'd write a piece and send it away and think, phew, you know, that's my job done. And the next morning, bing, in the inbox there'd be, you know, an email from one of the others, and it's like, oh, how exciting. And the story had grown, you know, almost literally overnight.
Yeah, it was excellent working with them. I learned more about their working habits than I'd known before. For example, Meredith would think of fantastic plot twists, and she would send them to us by email with headings such as breaking news. And Rose would get so enthusiastic, and she would just enthuse us all, just carry us along on her waves of enthusiasm for each of the characters. And Amanda would stay quiet for periods of time for about a week, and then all of a sudden our inbox would be filled with 3 or 4 really poignant, magnificent chapters to make us drag out the tissues. And I didn't know about myself for a while if I had anything, but Meredith was saying yesterday that I had a way of jumping ahead of everyone else and having to be told slow down, but I was only doing that because I thought I had to keep up the pace.
I had a ball. It was really, really good, and I couldn't believe how terrific it was to have other like-minded people in a story, I'd be thinking, oh gee, it'd be great for this character to do this thing, and then all of a sudden it would come through and they were doing it. But having said that, there were also surprises as well that came through, and at times I actually felt like not the author of the book but the reader of the book, where I was desperate for the next part, you know, and I'd be thinking, oh come on, get this next part in so I can see what happens. And it was really exciting, and it was great fun too.
Well, we weren't in the same room, so there was no arguments to be had. I didn't have any difficulty with it at all, actually. Pretty generally, I was probably the most pernickety out of all of them. I think, you know, if something came in that I thought, well, I don't know if that'll work, or something like that, I would probably say so. I think the others were probably a little more hesitant to be picky. They might say differently.
I really loved it. I actually found it a little bit addictive. I was like, oh, well, let's check my email first thing, or going back to my email box all the time. It was really good to bounce, you know, have their, my inspiration was bouncing off their inspiration sometimes, because when you're writing a novel, you sort of have your ideas for where it's going to go, but with 4 authors, you don't know what's happening in their head, and suddenly they've written this thing that you didn't see coming and go, oh, what am I going to do with that? So then I have to try and figure out how that fits with my story and work that in. So it was a real challenge like that, and I love a challenge.